Andrew Irumba Katsabe, Andrew Irumba Live, the Spy Uganda, the Spy Television. I'm in Kiwoko Town Council, Nakaseke District, and this afternoon I move this long journey from Kampala to find out a few things. There have been a discussion and a disagreement over a certain property in Nakaseke, and this property involves two big people. One is Mr. Jonnes Bakimi Twebaze, and a white man called James Dangers. James Dangers comes from the United States of America. The two have met for a very long time, since 1980 something. Mr. James will clarify on that. Since 1980s, this is 2025. They have done a lot of good things, and those good things have actually impacted hundreds of children. People have come into their projects under the school arrangement. They even have a hospital here, a clinic. People have gotten education. People have got through primary school to university education to finding their jobs and getting families. But now, a few weeks ago, I eavesdropped a problem that is actually endangering the future of this project here, and who knows, also their very own lives. Mr. James Bakimi Twebaze, nice to meet you.
My pleasure.
Twebaze is from Western Uganda. How do you find yourself in Nakaseke, Luero?
That's a good question. I'm born in Kabale.
Kabale?
Mparo now, that's Ruchiga district. And I, way back 1956.
1956?
Yes. So that's what I was told is about when I was born. I'm not exactly when. My father was a veterinary, World War II veterinary.
World War II?
Yes, World War II. So, so I grew and studied there in Paro, yes, and until by God's grace I succeeded and came to, I'm jumping several steps, came to Chambogo University currently.
Kampala.
I studied chemistry, biochemistry techniques, diploma in science technology. And so at the end of that, I gave my life to the Lord, as he said, and I became a committed Christian. But a little back, when I was in S6, 1980, the struggles, I joined politics, and the politics got me to support one young party, and which ended up that we had to go to the bush. So from 1981.
Which party was that?
What was it? UPM. Yeah, so that's the one that led us to the bush.
So who was the leader of that UPM?
The current president.
So that's the one you were supporting?
Yes, I supported that for many
So you are the people who failed the man, because in that election in 1980, the man only got 2 votes. 2?
No, my friend, I think.
And one was for Sam Kutesa, another one was Chris Kionga.
Yes.
Only 2 candidates. So
yes.
you didn't do a good job.
At the beginning, my friend, to launch and you get to, after you have never been in a political arena and you get 2 seats, that was a miracle. Not to mention that this was a young party. My main reason I joined that party was because my family broke down because of politics. My father, a Catholic, therefore DP. My mother, a Protestant.
Automatically, when you're a Catholic, you're DP?
That time.
Automatic?
That was automatic. My mother, Protestant, therefore UPC. So the 2 could not fit in the same house.
They could not sit in the same house. So they broke?
Broke. So I grew up as an orphan.
But the parents were there?
Were there.
Living separate lives?
And they had to even go through different districts. So I grew up. So I grew hating politics, these multi-party politics. And so when the UPM came, I was really excited that something had come which could unite Ugandans. And to cut the long story short, we ended up in the bush, and after the bush, my base was in Kampala. I was staying in Kampala, but connecting to the people outside.
So how do you end up in Ilwero? That's what I'm waiting for.
Yes, I'm quickly coming there. So now, the 1985, that's when I give my life to the Lord and get saved.
1985.
85. And that turned things around because I couldn't continue with the war. And it was a difficult decision. So
amidst the war, no, because you started 1981.
Yes.
So 1985, 1 year to the victory for you changed.
No, actually, we had almost come to the end. We were actually towards the end.
1985.
Yes, 1985 February, and so we had spread over. So, but I felt I had to change.
Surrender yourself to God.
To God, and start a different front. I said I didn't stop the liberation struggle. I only changed the front. I went on a spiritual front. The other one was holding guns and fighting, but this one I felt there was a different gun I needed, that Uganda needed, the liberation of people's hearts and minds. That's the one I joined. I'm still a fighter. I'm still a fighter.
But on a different front.
With a different weapon and a different front.
Different approach.
Yes.
Okay, so when you change to serving the Lord, how do you find yourself in Ilwero? How does it...
So I first went through some training. I find myself in Deliverance Church, a church I didn't know because I had grown up Catholic. And now Deliverance Church, I served there. I served with African Evangelistic Enterprise for a year, 1986 to 87. Now that is when a certain Mzungu appeared in our church. And
where was that?
Deliverance Church, Kampala, Nakaseke. And with
the
his
Mzungu
family, appears. There were a few Mzungus, but not many at that time. And so we got to cross paths high, and I was commonly sharing testimonies and of how God was using me. I was excited about what God was doing in my life. So I ended up getting to talk. At that time, my contract with African Enterprise was ending, but I had gotten a conviction that God wanted me to serve amongst children, because I found that was an area where not many people were good at.
Virgin area.
Yes, children. And so I started praying about it and looking for ways. And so he happens to come in our church, and then he approached me early January, 1987.
1987, after the war, 1986.
It is.
And what's the name of that white man?
That's Mr. J. Dangers.
Dangers?
Dangers, yes. He and his wife were in with their 2-3 kids, were in, still young. So he approaches me, said, I have this dream, and would you want to join me so that we establish this children's ministry? It caught my heart.
This had been the prayer had been making before the Lord.
Yes,
actually. That he needed to serve children.
Yes.
Now Dangers has come with the same idea.
Yes.
It means your prayers had been answered.
Yes, but I struggled because I really had served for 1 year, and I was thinking I needed to have some more income. The work I was doing with the church didn't give good income with African Enterprise, so I thought I was going to get a better income. I had received some opportunities to serve with government, having had the connections.
Having fought with them in the book?
Yeah, there were great opportunities. There was a post in Pep Scholar. There was some other opportunities to actually join in the political school and be posted. And but as I prayed, I felt this one was the better one. So I joined February 1987, and we came to Luwero.
From Kampala?
From Kampala. My friend, it was a bush. There was literally a bush. jungle with skeletons and skulls. If it had not been God making it clear that he was calling me here, I would have run away.
You met skulls, human skulls here?
Human skulls and live bombs, my friend.
Yeah.
In all these places where you saw football fields,
Yeah.
those were fighting fields with live bombs and ammunition. When we set it on fire on one of those football fields, you would think that people are shooting each other. There were so many bullets, and they actually picked a live grenade, and when they threw it, it exploded. Thank God that we were
That's
safe.
1987.
1980, now 88.
Now
so
88.
87, we started clearing
Establishment.
So the Mukubira family, Mr. Daud Mukubira is now gone, passed on, donated 66 acres.
Hey,
The Ugandan
one
family.
individual
One individual, they own
Donated
quite 66 acres.
of land.
Yes, for this dream or
This
to
project.
this work, because the whole idea of helping orphans, this was a killing fields where, especially Chiwoko, had been affected badly by the war. Many people had lost their lives. I tell you, if you visit Chikamulo, you will find a mass grave. If you visit down here in Nabsojo down there, you will find another mass grave. And so even other Kapeka and places, there are mass graves. So there were skulls, and those which survived the fire to be burned, the skeletons. So it was frightening. And when we came 87, they would stack the skeletons on these banana stores you find where they put bananas.
Hey.
That's how they would be stacked, facing the road. The skeletons,
Hey.
the heads would be up, the bones for the legs would be down.
Why were they doing that?
Because they were picking them. People were saying, this is what we have met. Desperation. And people are very deeply depressed. After they come back, their relatives they thought were alive were dead. It was a very sad situation. You would look at people, they were all looking into blank. So the only thing they wanted to do is to drink. And there happened to be some kayinja, they call it kayinja, which produces alcohol. They were busy making that as a way of keeping themselves from depression.
Away from depression.
The sorrows, the memories. So we come and we started clearing the bush.
You come with Mr. Dangers here?
Yes. And actually the Mukubira family allowed us to use their skeleton building. It's a literal head here. Now they have made it beautiful, but it was a shell of a building, a storied building, and there was no window, no door. It had been ransacked and looted. So they allowed us to use it. It was the only live building here. So we would be sleeping on the floor with some mattresses. I had a mattress and he had a mattress. We would sleep on the floor, and in the night we would put a table in the door steps to at least create some door, and then we would sleep on the floor. That's what we started on, Mr. J. Dangers and myself. I very much respect him. We started really in a very desperate environment. But the dream of seeing the orphans and destitute children taken care of was very deep on my heart. I said I would want to see that. So in the meantime, before we came fully here, as we were preparing, we were having some activity in Kampala with street children. So we would go and reach street children, play football with them, and then invite them over for a meal at Mr. Danger's home.
In Kampala?
In Kampala, Lunguja. So that's how we got connected with some of the children that we ended up bringing this way. We got a family that came from through the Ministry of Rehabilitation at that time it was called. Honorable Njuba was the minister.
Sam Njuba?
No, Gertrude.
Gertrude Njuba, the wife.
Yes, the
The
mother,
wife.
I think.
No.
The
Gertrude Njuba, I think, was the wife to Sam Njuba.
but they had also a son called Sam Njuba.
Okay.
If I don't,
Okay.
So anyway,
She died of recent.
Gertrude, yes,
Yes,
passed on.
Gertrude.
She was a wonderful mother.
Yeah.
So she got us a family from Chitende on Entebbe Road, and who also were destitute. That was one of the core families we brought here. 19 when we finished. I located the first house. You will see a picture of it. I located the first house. It was a street with doors like this in Mizigo. Uh, and we had a boys' room, staff room, and a dining, and a boys' room, a girls' room. So, and the kitchen behind. That's the first house, grass thatched, and they roofed it badly. It was leaking like a sieve. But we stayed there. Mr. Peter Kisaka, the husband of the former ED, was staying with me in the same house.
Wait a minute. Peter Kisaka was the husband of the former ED of KCC.
Is the husband of the former ED.
This
Dorothy.
Dorothy Kisaka.
Yes.
Hey.
So I was staying in the same room with
him
in 1988. He joined us in 1987 towards the end as we were preparing to bring in children. So 1987 February, we start building that. We employed some people to start clearing and to build that first grass thatch house. So 1988, we planned to take in the children in the family. At that time, we were operating under World Care. But World Care proved to be very weak, and it is the one which had sent Mr. Dangers. It ended up not being there, really. It collapsed by 1988. It was non-existent. And so we were really having no money. We were depending on the food we were growing here. Potatoes, we planted a lot of potatoes and harvested a lot. So we did a lot of our own planting. Mr. Peter Kisaka would tell you how we cleared the bush near the football field there that you saw, and planted our own crops, and we ate. So we were feeding basically. So we took our first children on February the 8th, 1988, 10 kids. Okay?
Taking it from where to where?
So we got, 5 of them came from Kampala.
You brought them here?
We brought them here, and one was my sister's daughter who had lost parents, my late sister's daughter. She was called Judith. She's called Judith. She was here. Then others were street kids who had picked on the street. And we learned a lesson: don't mix street kids with any family kids. Don't. If you want to help them, you may end up having separate them. Otherwise, you will spoil it. Don't mix street kids with the family
other
kids.
children.
Don't. They need a different treatment. It's like mixing malaria with typhoid. You may end up killing both. So we took up, and that became a good lesson. I was sleeping with them in the same house. Mr. Dangers was still commuting from Kampala. He ended up repairing the house in Kabubu, the one which we had been sleeping in. Dr. Ian Clark joined us to work with us, the one who pioneers the hospital in Kampala. IHK, yeah.
Hey, he also worked with you here?
Yes, he worked with us for a short time. He actually helped to fundraise, to raise some materials we first used in 1987-88. The first beddings, baskets, food, seeds, clothing, boxes and boxes, the first Land Rover, the first vehicle truck, the first tractor, they were all donated through Dr. Ian Clark. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, so we didn't last long together, but he really became a very big help. That is 1987-88. So now, we took the first children in 1988, February the 8th.
10, you said there 10?
10 kids, yes. So, and at that time, we both, I told you, we met in Deliverance Church. So we were both coming from Deliverance Church. Mr. Peter Kisaka was from Deliverance Church. We were very much relating with Deliverance Church leaders. They were speaking into our lives, they were speaking into our vision, they were speaking into what we were doing. And so that is how we end up, as the world care was weakening, we were discussing having a local NGO, a local body to shepherd this work. So that's how Deliverance Church and leadership ended up forming this NGO, the Board of Trustees. And the Board of Trustees was formed, first of all, by the major leaders, Pastor Nicholas Wafula, Mr. Beno Luka, Pastor Titus Owundo, Mr. James Ameda, and then Bishop Misairi Kauma, and Mr. Daudi Mukubira, Daudi Mukubira,
The one who gave you free land.
donated that. He was the one who really measured a bigger contribution in the material sense of it. Bishop Kauma hosted the first donations. Is the one they came through his place at Namirembe Diocese. That's where we received them from. Then the rest were the shepherds, our shepherds, and the ones who said it is worth to take over this work and shepherd it. The only thing we had was that house, really material, but the land was the major donation. To me, the major thing was this land, which had been donated by Mr. Mukubira to the work. And I spoke to him several times. He was convinced that what we were doing was worthwhile because he wanted to help the people of this area. That's how he.
Okay.
To
Now,
take care of this.
that's a bit of history.
Yeah.
Now, Mr. James, Jonnes, bring us up to speed. What's the problem today? Because you show a very good beginning, and I have seen schools here, primary, secondary. I wanted you also to give us statistically, maybe probably how many children so far have gone through your hands, probably through the care directly here or through the schools, and if you could maybe remember some of those names that we could know today in society. You could say so and so studied from here, so and so was here, and then now we move to the next phase. How many children roughly have passed through your hands here? Because I last hear about 10, but have you stopped at 10?
No.
I'm sure no.
Thank you very much. By the end of 1988, we had recruited, the numbers were overwhelming, who needed care. The main reason we came was mainly war orphans. So there were hundreds of orphans who needed care. They were starving, they had no hope, no care, nobody, the people who would have cared for them had died. So they were really destitute. So by the end of that year, we had come from 10 to 45 by the end of the year. We just kept adding on, even when we didn't have so much to offer. We just added on. And then we began a small primary school. I got married that year. That gave a teacher. My wife resigned her lecturer position in Chambogo University to come and be a
primary teacher,
a primary nursery teacher, because we were committed. We were committed to this work.
This is the way we just
yes, Gertrude.
Yeah, yes.
Yes, she was a lecturer in home economics in Chambogo, and she had a vision of wanting to be a super lecturer, of course. But because of the dedication to the work, she came. So we started building. Every year we took in. At first we took in twice. The beginning and the end, 2 times at the beginning and the middle of the year, because we were lacking staff after all. So even when we had trees to sit under, nothing else, we would at least be able to offer something. So the numbers have increased. We've been able to care. We've been able to provide. Not all our children were able to finish primary because some of them joined when they were 10, 15 years, even 18 years, but they looked like a 10-year-old. an 18-year-old. They were malnourished. They were real miserable. War is bad. So we went through that, and I could say the first 7 to 10 years, we were having these children who are turning off, giving them skills, just life skills, caterers, tailoring, building. I must say, most of our builders in this area were trained by us. We trained our builders, we trained our carpenters, we trained our masons. I could show you the top carpenters, the top masons, and they were not so highly learned, but they were able to be trained by hands-on people that we found in this area and those that we brought to work with us.
So now, between 1987 when you start up to before you start getting problems, how many children were you accommodating? And the school here, how many students were going through this school?
Let me first of all make a summary to say, from 1988 up to 2022, let's say 2025 to date, I would estimate well over 3,000. I would say between 3,000 and 5,000 children have gone through, and including those who have gone through the Ministry of New Hope Uganda.
New Hope Uganda. Do
Yes.
you remember some notable names you can mention of CAF and say, this one is now a Minister of Energy, he studied here. This one is an LSU1 chairman, he was here.
Oh, we have many in those simple positions. We have LCs, we have police officers, we have military officers who are in the army. We have very high qualified accountants, auditors. Is one called MSJ. We have missionaries in Rwanda who are working in lecturers in universities. Very many who went to Rwanda who are working in Rwanda. Very many who are working in very good positions in the government, in different positions, but also wherever they are, in simple but well taking care of themselves, of their affairs. And many of them have families, many of them have built homes, many of them are...
These were once street kids.
Street
and
kids
orphans.
and orphans and destitutes in the community. Those who were hopeless. Some thrown away. Some we picked them from police. One was picked from a police box. He used to sleep in a box in Ruero. And we picked him. The police said, please help us, take care of this one. And we took care of him. He's a big guy in the army.
Hey.
I don't want to quickly mention the name, but yes, he's a guy in the army, and we have several others in the army. We have several in the police. We have several in those big positions. But not only to mention those, even staff members who came, their lives were impacted so much that they ended up, we have some who have ended up going and starting organizations. But they came when they didn't know anything. They are now leaders of organizations and taking care of other children or different ministries. Some are taking care of disabled organizations, others are heading child care organizations, and others like those. Some who we have trained internationally. We have a child care institute which trains child care workers, and they come from all over the world. We have India, missionaries in India, whom we have sent from here. We have in America, Mexico, Congo, Democratic Republic of Congo, and the Congolese, the other side. Quite a few people who have been impacted. Zambia, Malawi. Yeah. So I was saying, I could think that the troubles could have begun way back in 1985. No, 2016. But this is now hindsight. But I wanted to say that I am very grateful for the board of trustees that has led New Hope Uganda for all these years, from as far as I'm concerned, from 1989. 89 to be specifically, because 87 they were involved in our lives, but to officially launch as an organization, registered organization looking over us, that was in 1989. they are men and women of integrity that I respect, that have really looked over us, that have supervised us, that have donated their time without an expectation of anything.
So now, where is the problem, Mr.
So the problem why I'm
James.
saying 2016, I come to learn afterwards in 2021 that there had been a decision that was made back in the States. To take you back a bit, 1989, 90, so 89 New Hope Uganda is formed as a trustee, board of trustees. So New Hope Uganda registers instead of World Care.
You register a local NGO
Yes.
called New Hope Uganda, in 1989.
It starts in 1989, but is registered in 1990. But remember, the World Care.
There is a history of World Care.
World Care,
Yeah.
and the two of us, Mr. J. Dangers and myself, we come with the vision to literally start over. He came with the vision to build this children's home. It was called Farm Home School. I come with the vision to disciple children. So we fit together and start this work. We pioneered it together. Now, but we needed oversight. We needed an organization that would actually take care of the organization. That's how New Hope Uganda is formed. And we praise God for the leadership of Deliverance Church, Pastor Nicholas Wafula, and his other leaders that started and have taken care of New Hope Uganda up to today, I must say. Now, so 2016, something happened. We were told that New Hope Uganda was toxic by people from USA, our partners from USA. A little back, I forget to say, in 1995, we decided that we needed some partner, some way of working together with some help in fundraising. So we agreed that we form an entity in USA, and we even agreed that they use our name. That is called New Hope Uganda Ministries, based in USA. So the board okays it that yes, let it be formed for the purpose of raising funds.
This is the New Hope Uganda in Uganda. Then you open New Hope UK chapter.
USA
chapter.
Yes.
Sorry.
So it essentially it took even the name. We even use the same website. If you Google, you will find it is the same website, the same logo. The same logo ended up being the same. They took up the same logo. Initially, it wasn't the same. We had our logo clearly, so they adopted. It became one website. So in 2016, a narration came that New Hope Uganda was toxic. That word I need to understand what it is, but they have been helped that it is an unhealthy environment. And we were told...
You went to a dictionary to find out the meaning of toxic?
That it's a sickly environment, it is an unhealthy environment. But,
so you were sickly in Uganda?
Yes, that New Hope Uganda in Uganda was sick.
And that is the US chapter saying so?
Yes. That
the one you formed yourselves?
Yes. But it had its own board, but for the purpose of raising funds for
this one.
And everything went well to begin with. Now, 2016, this is after quite some years. So 2016, a statement came that people who are living here, there were a few people who had left. Missionaries come over the years. They come, they work for a time, they go. They come, they work for a time, they come. They occupy different positions, they work, they serve different roles, they come and go. We have had many over the years, from all over the world, by the way. So this 2016, a new narration came that New Hope Uganda was toxic. And the proposal was that there is need to determine its status and restore its health. So we said good. The board said good. No problem. Go ahead and help us. So an organization was hired in 2017 2016 actually towards the end, to help determine this health, this
Hey.
toxicity, and bring health.
And prescribe the medicine.
Yes. So that is what the board in Uganda was told.
Yes.
Now, so
What's the name of the farm that was given that job?
it was called Adizi. Adizi is ADIZES.
Is it local or it's also
It's
from?
a USA organization, but
The people who identified the toxicity in you are in US.
yes,
Then the farm that is being hired to come and prescribe the medicine is also from the US.
Yes, with Jewish origin, I'm told. The
okay.
man called Adizi. So it is in US. Even the guy who was the doctor who was actually doing it is of course from US.
US.
So we start being analyzed. We sat. They came. We did different seminars all over. We had to start from grassroots up to the top. The board was included, determining the health. Now, slowly, I kept withdrawing some comments. The goal of this is to establish a new structure. Now, my understanding is, which would help the organization work better. So we went on. It worked on. Everybody worked on. The main characters who are supervising this, even in Uganda, were also whites. We had some people
From the US ministry.
Yes, they were the ones who were supervising. They were the ones who were special trained to make sure that they used the terms which
They are the ones who had identified the toxicity in you. They're the ones who brought the doctors to prescribe for you the medicine. So they are the ones supervising
exactly
the medication.
So,
And your job is to receive the medication.
yes,
Go
we're
ahead.
waiting. So now, 2017, the treatment is getting finished. 2018, they have finished a new org chart. A new org chart is finished.
Org chart, you mean
Organization structure. The whole structure now is reorganized.
Are you
differently.
involved in organizing that?
No, I mean, it had to come from this
The doctors.
doctor. He prescribed a new org chart. And we were involved, but you know, when you go to the doctor and somebody tells that your grandmother is suffering from schizophrenic meningitis or something like this, what will you say? You will say,
okay. What can we do?
You don't know.
Then he said, no, don't worry.
We're going to give the medicine.
Your job is going to remain to look on, offer the body, they inject, and pay the bill.
So they gave us a proper analysis. The result was a new org chart. They changed the whole org chart. The org chart included headquarter concept, that everything was going to be managed from headquarters.
And where is that?
Here.
Here.
Everything was going to be
Here,
based here.
Nakaseke here.
Yes. And all of them were going to be directorates. So we had a director of quality control. We had, just like Pepsi Cola, if you like. We had a director of services. We had a director of finance and administration. We had a director of
Human resource.
something like that.
Director
We
of human
had,
resource.
then we had executive director. We had also CEO. Previously, we had director and ministry coordinator. We had the center managers, and then management teams. So we worked in teams previously. So the leaders at different levels formed a team. So we had management was a team, and then we had a national team, then the board. So those ones were abolished. So we had now these executives. Those executives, all of them were headed by whites
Hey,
from CEO.
hey.
The only now remaining position, if you look at the org chart, the top position, which should be the board, with all the names, they only put Mr. Happy James. If you look at
This is your colleague, James.
yes, no, this is Happy James, the former chairman of the board. The CEO is Mr. J. Danger.
Yes, Danger's your comrade, your colleague.
Yes,
Becomes the CEO. And
the
you?
ED. No, I'm not there. In this new org chart, I'm not there. I don't exist.
But your colleague is there as
He's
the CEO.
there. Yes, he's the CEO.
Danger's is there.
Yes, he's CEO. Then there was an
For you, are not even a cleaner.
I don't exist in that organizational structure.
Not even a cleaner.
So they had separated the organization from the church. And so they said the church is the one where you go. You become the organizer of the church, the responsible for the church. I said, me, I liked it. I said, I'm willing to work there as long as this organization still remains one. But that was the game. So the entity, all these offices are taken over. So guess what? We are coming now to 2019. 2019, we get a joint board meeting. In the meantime, so we have USA. There is an entity in USA named New Hope Uganda Ministries. We have also formed another one in Canada, New Hope Uganda Ministry, Child Care Canada. New Hope, it's also called New Hope Uganda. We also have another one in the US, in the UK, called New Hope Uganda Ministries, New Hope Uganda UK. They all carried that because they were initiated for the purpose of New Hope Uganda. So now at 2019, we all boards meet in a Musana camp. We have a joint board meeting. That joint board meeting, without our knowledge, and this is something very interesting, without our knowledge, without the board knowing, had discussed and resolved this joint board meeting without our board, which is the mother board. New Hope Uganda Board of Trustees is the owner of this ministry, legally in every sense.
But this was discussed without your intervention.
They resolved that New Hope Uganda was going to be registered as an international co-op or entity. International. Now, how do we get to know that? We get to know that as an aftermath, because at 2019, we are at that joint board meeting. They organize that every country gives a speech, and the speech is given by the president, the chairman of the board, except Uganda. For Uganda, they wanted to give a speech, to give a report, was the executive director.
Which is dangerous.
No, not even dangerous, because Mr. Dangerous was not on the forefront in the shooting of the right guns. There was another one called Jared Sinclair.
But at first you said it is Dangerous who comes as CEO in the new.
Yes, but there was another one who was the real man who was running things. To make
Danger had not yet taken office.
He was in the office, but there was the hitman. I call him a hitman. He was the executive director who was making things work. He was the one coordinating all activities going on, and this mastermind of making New Hope Uganda become a corporate. New Hope Uganda Board of Trustees is an NGO, non-profit entity, and it's a trustee. But this time, there was a move to register it as an international corporation. So they went ahead and actually submitted. All they needed was to submit this NGO, this new org chart, because according to the NGO Bureau, if you have these many whites, you qualified to be a foreign entity. So they quietly submitted this. The board doesn't even know what is happening. They already have discussed it amongst themselves to that effect. They have resolved. So how do I come to know? How do we come to know? Actually, it comes when things become hot later. We come to know through some exchanges of emails that a board member in Canada complains that, hey, why did you come? Why did you change? Because eventually, you remember COVID came. When COVID came, the application was not yet complete. So I came and took over. They left, all the Mzungus left, and I took over. So I find that there was already a file applying for New Hope Uganda as a foreign entity.
Which you didn't know?
I didn't. Not even the board knew. All they needed was to put in this org chart, that this is how New Hope Uganda is, this is who are the leaders of New Hope Uganda. Okay. That is all that they needed. So I had to be interrogated for over 30 minutes by the NGO Bureau to change that. So we stated and said, actually, no, this is not true. They agreed that New Hope Uganda, as it was of old, should remain.
Should remain.
So they accepted our new application. Our lawyer helped us to clarify that. It took 2 days to change it so that we go back to the org chart.
Who was that lawyer?
Madame Dorothy Kisaka.
Hey, the former ED KCCA.
Is the lawyer who registered us from the very beginning. 1989 is the same lawyer who was still with us.
Dorothy Kisaka.
Yes.
Because you had worked with her husband,
Yes.
Peter.
But that was not the reason.
No. I
yes.
know.
Yes.
For all purposes, she qualified to do what she was
Yes,
doing,
because
and the man also qualified to do what he
very
was doing.
much.
So I just want to correlate so
Yeah.
that we get to know that these two were also involved in your
They
work.
were very dedicated. They have loved this
So
work.
Dorothy Kisaka helps you to register and continue with your name.
Yes, we maintained our name. We maintained that we are the local entity, and then it became very, very clear when that came. Some people complained. Some people complained in the what is it? The first complaint came from outside. How could you change our plan? Because we had agreed. Hey, you had agreed without us knowing. Yes, we agreed when we were there. This is the Canadian treasurer, a board member. Then another one from US said, these are being discovered because they were all fighting to get Jonnes out of the organization. Me, they were fighting to get me out because they discovered after I had registered, changed it to register as a local NGO, I had committed a terrible sin without knowing, because for me I was just restoring the organization from what it was. So now this gentleman, Dr. Steve Alexander, he's the one who confirmed and said that Mr. Sinkler had decided to register us as a local, as a foreign entity because of the Mzungus on the board or on the leadership. And I said, oh, so they had actually agreed. But not only to mention that, one of the gentlemen who had been very involved as a president of New Hope Uganda Ministries, he sat with me 3 times on 3 occasions and literally asked me, said, Jonnes, you need to get out of New Hope Uganda so that it can become a corporate.
Who's that?
His name is called Johnny Cowles.
John Carl.
Johnny Cowles.
Oh.
And I didn't understand. I said, what do you mean? We even took me to Congo for a mission. I went with him. Even in the USA, the last mission I had for fundraising, he was with me to tell me, Jonnes, get out of New Hope Uganda so that New Hope Uganda becomes a corporate. Now,
Without you, it's not a corporate. I mean, with you, it's not a corporate.
yeah, because I am a church man mainly, but also I'm a local. So I
they wanted to get international
yes.
without you because you are local.
But you see, I don't know whether you understand the concept.
I do.
Non-profit and corporate.
Yeah.
You see?
So
they are now changing, they want to change it to become actually a corporate that
And
has
without
shares.
you.
Without. And the
You
goal...
are standing in their way.
Exactly. Oh, my friend, I have been hunted. All kinds of offenses have been labeled on me. I am a thief, I have stolen land, but they don't know which land I have not. I'm still waiting to hear which land I have stolen. I have hurt so many people, I have committed offenses and forgiven. There are reports and reports that have been made to remove Jonnes. The board has said, we don't see what you are saying. What?
Give us evidence.
Give us evidence. No, many people say Jonnes has hurt them. Said, show us. Let
Bring
somebody
them.
sign and said, Jonnes hurt me like this, like this. None. But the only obstacle was, since I am a co-founder, a pioneer, co-pioneer in that sense, I become an obstacle.
So that's the gist of the matter, my brother.
That to me is what I see. So, but for information, my discoveries, I have an email that a friend has written, and he's complaining that many people who begin non-profit, not-for-profit organizations, end up turning them into corporates for their own personal benefit. It becomes a family property instead of an organization that is supposed to be non-profit and should continue to do that. And to me, I never came for that. I never came for profit. I came to serve our children. I came to serve those who are destitute, who needed help. I didn't come to profit and even to steal a centimeter of the land of this organization.
Oh, okay. So I get the gist of the matter. So now, you and Dangers, you two people, have you sat down? Because this problem now is actually about you and Dangers. You are the two people who started this.
I agree.
Have you sat down to iron these differences?
My
Number
friend,
two, when Mr. Danger was appearing on the new org chart, and you were not appearing, and yet you are his brother, childhood brother now, I call, did he question that new org chart without Jonnes, his brother?
no, it was the plan. Let me tell you more. In my processing of sitting near that doctor who was diagnosing, I had him say, the doctor said, actually, the founder should go to become CEO and eventually the chairman of the board. So the goal was not that Mr. Dangers, the founder, becomes just the CEO. He was to become the chairman of the board and take over the whole entity, which is the drive. But we have had a board. That's why there is a drive today to remove the board. You see it? Black and white. I had it. That gentleman said that in the common sense of these entities, the corporates, they build it in such a way the CEO works under a chairman, but eventually becomes the chairman and CEO because he owns everything. Now, that was the journey. If you look at that org chart which they presented, instead of putting the board as a whole in that box of the board, they put Mr. Happy James only, because the goal was to replace him with this other one, the CEO.
I want you to take me through, out of all this conflict, the Minister of Lands, Housing and Urban Development recently invited you to see how you can iron these issues. How did it go? What happened?
Thank you. I think you possibly need to know that the way it ended at the Ministry of Lands, my brother,
Dangers.
J. Dangers, we have gone through many reconciliation attempts. We have gone through many reconciliation attempts, including with Mr. Gimara, a very highly qualified mediator, to try to mediate between us. It grieves me with great pain to see me and my brother. My children know him as my elder brother. We have related with unreserved trust, at least for me. So to me, to see that we cannot talk to each other is painful. He's the closest, besides my wife. Actually, no, not even my wife, because I knew Mr. Dangers earlier than my wife.
Before your wife?
Yeah. Besides Pastor Nicholas Wafula and Mr. Beno Luka, who are still part of my life, there is no one I have known so close like
Than
Mr.
Dangers.
Dangers. None. So close for so long. And so I have labored to say we need to reconcile. Mr. Francis Gimara is a Christian, very God-loving, very, very thorough in his dealing.
I know
He
him.
couldn't.
I
After
know him.
meeting us 4 or 5 times, he said, I don't want to waste your time. Because,
He met you 5 times,
yes,
and he failed to unite you.
completely. He said, you are not. I said, Mr. Gimara, tell me. I am a man of God. I love God. If I am sinning, tell me I want to repent. What have I done wrong? He said, you haven't done wrong. I said, so why can't we reconcile? He said, I thought we have sinned, we have admitted some mistakes. He says, well, there is admission and not accepting.
Who is that saying?
That's Mr. Gimara. He said, you can admit something, but you don't own it. You are not willing to take responsibility for it and see a change. And so I remember my brother, Mr. J. Dangers, said, if Jonnes could remove this idea that some people want him out of New York, Uganda, things would end. And Mr. Gimara challenged him. And he said, no, Jonnes has a reason. Because you had agreed together that you should go for sabbatical. When did it come that it was replaced by remove and replace? Because by the time we know what's happening, the drive is remove and replace Jonnes. But initially, I had been suggested to go for sabbatical in 2020. Thank God for
where?
COVID in USA.
Thank
I was supposed to spend there 6 months.
Sabbatical.
Minimum sabbatical, 6 months in USA. And so I don't know whether I would have come back from how things are. But and money had been raised, everything had been, but how did that come? He asked me, we were on a retreat together for one day with him and his wife and my wife at Rhino Sanctuary. It was Rhino Sanctuary. And he asked me a question. He says, Jonnes, NHUM is asking me what is my vision going forward for the next 5 years. And he said, I have none. He said, what about you? I leaned forward and I said, I have one. I feel this is my sunset. And God is telling me I need to empty myself into the young leaders so that they can take the ministry going forward. He looked at me like this when he heard that. And he says, Jonnes, you are so hot, you need to go for sabbatical. Hey, he's asking me what my vision is after sharing it. And honestly, that's what I wanted. Because I have always believed in emptying myself as a leader and seeing new leaders take
Train
on.
new cadres.
Exactly. That's my heart.
For him, he said, now you're hot.
Exactly. Right? But then all of a sudden he said, no,
Go for
you go for
sabbatical.
sabbatical. 6 months to a year.
Eh.
That's at the end of 2019 when he was going out. So by the time I come, actually, the sabbatical drive is so fast. I have been replaced. There are new leaders in place. Bam! The board has heard that we have agreed, and I didn't even know what to say. So by March, the things had exploded. I was saying, no, I don't want. Because you are driving me to go for a sabbatical, I don't treat things that way. If I am hurt, I know how to deal with my heart. That's not the way to go for sabbatical. And after all, it is not part of Ugandan.
Especially Muchiga from Kavari.
No.
Muchiga.
My wife was saying, my friend, we leave our family, our home, our farm. Who remains to run? We don't live off a credit card like they do. We live off a garden. So how can you take me for... But anyway, that was the initiative. They said we should. So now Mr. Gimara is saying, you said sabbatical. How did it become now you have to remove and replace him? My brother kept quiet. But now, fast forward, before we come to Ministry of Lands, stories have come up. Jonnes has been accused of endless cases to the extent that money was stopped for over 1 year. If you check on our incomes, 2020, 2021, and 2022, our money was to zero negative. The money had been locked. They were, NHUM, Mr. J. Dangers, was saying unless we remove Mr. Chairman and Jonnes Bakimi, there would be no money.
Now it became a condition
It
for
was.
funding.
Exactly.
Hey.
So the children, No, but that, let me tell you, that became an opportunity for us. So I challenged my leaders. I said, now COVID is here and we have no money. Our friends have supply money. Let's go and use what we have. We started coffee growing, planted over 15 acres.
Hey.
We planted trees. We
Hey.
said, well, let's prepare for no income anytime. So today you saw some coffee growing.
Yeah, yeah.
Those are part of what we planted between 2020 and 21 when there
So
was no
actually,
money.
stopping that aid opened your eyes.
Yes, sir.
Self-reliance.
We did.
This is exactly what Trump has done to Africa.
Exactly.
Trump said no money. He said, okay, no, actually there is land here, free
Yes.
land. Let's dig it.
Ah, my friend, me, I am excited. Can you imagine? 40, it's coming to 40 years since we have been receiving aid from US. We have over 3 square miles of land altogether. But
3 square miles.
3. But if you ask how much do we earn from that land, I will tell you 0.
So now you have started utilizing it.
That has not been part of the agenda. And to me, for a foreigner, saying he still wants to donate money to a country, an organization he has been managing over 40 years, it's a disaster. It should be a shame. We should have empowered this organization once and for all. The organization should be going forward. Those acres of land on bush, and we're not earning any money? No. And to me, when that happened in 2020, 2021, I said, here is good. Let's plant the coffee. Let's plant trees. We have forests. Now we are harvesting some of that. We are harvesting. And we should be, in every sense, with all this land, we should be taking care of our funds without any foreign involvement. All right? Okay. So that's number one. So anyway,
it was a blessing in this case.
it is. It is. And to me, I feel this thing of where we are begging, oh, please don't leave, don't leave. It's saying we don't want our independence. It's a crime for Africa to still be begging. Let me tell you, if Africa was colonized because of the gun, now we are being colonized because of aid.
Yeah, aid is actually one of the means of colonialism.
It is.
You see now, for you, they have been colonized for 40 years
Yes.
by dangers.
Yes.
Because you have to kneel down.
Hey,
bring money.
With tilted neck.
40 years.
Please
With,
give us.
with your white hairs.
Our children will die. No, they will not die. They will not die. They will not die. We know how to. Okay? Now,
How many children do you have right now under your care as the entire organization?
we have over 600. We're actually
Hey.
coming. We have over 600.
600 children.
Yes. We have over 600. We have Kobwin, we have here in different levels. Over 600.
Over 600 children.
Yes.
Under New Hope Uganda.
Yes.
And that is what these guys are trying to put down.
Yeah. Now, to make money out of. but let me bring you.
Let's go back to our answer.
So before we go to the Minister of Lands, my brother comes and he goes to the First Lady. The First Lady is our friend.
Hey, Janet Kata,
Has been our friend since 1991.
1991.
91. She visited us when we had almost still.
Here.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
And she has visited a total of 3 times. The
Hey.
football field in front of my house is the president's landing place.
The president lands here.
When he is coming in this area, he lands in
Really?
front there. Yeah, we shake hands.
Hey.
Yes.
Hey.
He was here. Last year, was it? Last year for a prayer meeting. Yes. So she knows.
So
she knows
then,
me. She
so
knows us.
Then
very
that
well.
goes to First Lady.
Goes to the First Lady, and in tears, accuses
He goes
me.
crying.
Jonnes, my brother, whom I have trusted so much, has betrayed me. He has stolen land. He has stolen the organization from me. He has jacked me out, and I am in trouble now. I am headed out. I don't have anything to stay in Uganda for. Accused me of stealing land. Accused me of doing so many other things. You will be hearing me stealing land. I have had custody of every. I'm the one who received the first piece of land which was donated. I'm the one who received it. Through the help of a church, deliverance church member at Bukarasa, who helped transact that land for us. I have transacted over 10 titles of this organization. some of which nobody else knows except me. But none has been taken. I could have taken advantage of those. Every piece of land that deserves here is in New Hope, Uganda, and in the custody. I have even spent my own money to offer custody of the property of my own money of New Hope, Uganda. But now I am the thief. So anyway, when she got there, the first lady said, "This is very terrible. What about the chairman? Does the chairman know?" Said, "Oh, the chairman is also part. He protects Mr. Jonnes. Jonnes, yeah, he is. They are part. They are the same."
And who's the chairman?
Pastor Nicholas Wafula. So Pastor Nicholas Wafula, with the rest of the board, are thieves.
Together with you?
With me.
Uh-huh.
Pastor Nicholas Wafula, the man of highest reputation in this land, he has just received an honorary reward as an international leader under DAI recognition, and that he's a thief, he's corrupt. So anyway, the first lady, I'm sure she did what was right in her understanding. She said, "You better go to the lawyers." Handed her to the Attorney General. The Attorney General has recommended it to the court. So that's how we end Mr. Dangers saying he wants to remove the board of trustees and take the land to himself because he's the donor, he's the settler, he's the appointer of the board.
So Janet Kataha referred you to use courts of law.
Yes.
And then how do you end up in the Ministry of Land?
So the Ministry of Land is the one which registered trustees. So the commissioner, so they used the lawyers to go to the commissioner to ask the commissioner to remove the board of trustees. The board of trustees, and Mr. Dangers is claiming he's a settler. In other words, he's the one who appointed the board to take care of his assets. When he's not even entitled to own a piece of property in Uganda, but he says he's the one who handed over the assets to the board, whatever that one means. And so he's the settler. He wants to remove the board, and so that he takes back and he appoints a new board. Again, it goes back to the agenda I told you. The agenda of having him as the chairman of the CEO and chairman, as had been planned. So that's where we end, at the Ministry of Land, and we are seated there, and we are being asked questions. How do we, what is to be done? They asked how many board members were present. We put up hands. There were 8 of us. How many are in support of Mr. J. Danger's petition? There were him and 2 others. And then the rest of us 5 were against it. That's first of all, to show how perverted the idea is. Secondly, then the lawyer started saying that we had whitewashed the document, because he presented a document that actually incriminated him. He presented that he was the founder member, he was the founder of the board, but the board was saying, actually, you don't even exist. And for one reason that I don't know, his name was whitewashed, which I believe was whitewashed at the application, because there were other attachments, attaching documents, because the law, according to the law, during that time I have been made to know, according to the law, it does not grant foreigners to own land in Uganda.
That's what it is.
That's the law.
That's what it is.
So by being a trustee, he would be owning the land. They rejected it at that time.
1989?
1989, yes. They rejected his name being a trustee.
A member of trustee,
yes.
Board of trustees.
So now they are saying Jonnes is the one who whitewashed that name. That's what he's saying right now. That's what he has said. He says they found the one who deleted the name, and for what purpose? But that's the law. But anyway, right now, the submissions have been made, and we have responded, and we have done a second petition. They have a big book of it. That's where we're going. But here is my heart, Andrew. Mine is not the winning of this case. that is not the best. As a believer, I believe that the victory will be when I have won my brother's heart
Back
back into reconciliation.
so
That
that
is-
you so that you walk together again.
That's what Christ came for, to reconcile us. It's not about this. The facts are on the table.
So your primary objective is not to win dangers, to win him. No.
To beat him in court in the case.
No.
That's-
The objective is to reconcile you to work together again.
we love him, and I can say this even on behalf of the board. The goal is not to humiliate or even to defeat him in the court. Our heart and desire is to win him back as a brother,
Pull him back.
because that's who we are. We've been for all these almost 40 years, and God is not pleased with all that kind of division. That's not the heart. And I have told young people who are near me and any staff member, I said, anybody who is talking evil and making any bad statements against my brother is not my friend. Because my desire is to see a restoration and reconciliation. We have the law. The law is clear. I'm sure they will come up. They will see the evidence. I'm sure in here they know how we have worked with integrity. The district people we have worked with, police at all levels, LCs, they know the little piece of land that I own. I've never stolen any piece of land that belongs to Uganda. But now, if you hear the group that he has put up together of the sons and daughters, they call me a thief. They call me all kinds of names. My sons and daughters, some of whom are on his group, they call me a thief. I don't blame them. They have been deceived to believe that way. I love them. I do love them. Those sons and daughters, I love them. They have been poisoned to think that way. But my heart is that they will be
So
one
as we
back.
wind up, my elder, Mr. Jonnes, I want you to end up in 1 minute. What were the recommendations from Minister of Lands that you came back with? What did they recommend? What are you going to do about it?
There is no recommendation yet.
What did they say?
They say
They heard you. What did they say?
we made the first appearance, so they said you are going to. We made the response, so they made they call it what, a rebuttal, whatever they call it. After we presented ours, they had the lawyer. His lawyer also had to come back, and in the meantime, my brother has gone to sue the chairman to his church. He's accusing him in his church and saying the elders should remove him from the chairmanship, and he demands that the chairman that his church tells him to move from the chairmanship of the board, as if they are the ones who appointed him. He's gone all kinds. He's turned the hearts of our sons and daughters against us, the fathers. To me, that's the most painful.
And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, I am in Lueru. This is the Nakaseke district. I have moved around this project, sitting on over, you said, 3 square miles.
Here is only about 200 acres.
200 acres?
Yeah.
He says these are about 600 children that are being affected by their disagreement. I have seen a primary school here and a secondary school in the same vicinity here. I have actually moved during the time when students were actually leaving class, going back home. All those children's future depends on how these two brothers resolve their misunderstanding. All of them are children of God. I don't know whether I am, but at least I believe you are. I believe that there is a calling, and that calling is not about your interest, but the interests of those that you're taking care of, those children that I saw, vulnerable children, orphans, and that is the calling you got 40 years ago. I believe that God will guide them to sit down again on the table like you are doing right now, Mr. Dangers and Mr. Jonnes, to resolve this impasse. Otherwise, the innocent over 600 children, and the students you have seen here, both primary and secondary, their future is in the hands of these two. How they manage will determine the future of those children. My name is Andrew Irumba Katsabe.